Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining ARC's Fireside Chat. We are excited to share with you the coalition work that we've been doing to build leaders inside and out of our institutions in the state of California. Today, we're going to be discussing advanced leadership skill programs for LWOPs, and that is life without the possibility of parole individuals that we're going to change. I want to introduce you to some incredible people, as always, some incredible human beings. Want to just share with you, this coalition is in part ARC in partnership with Human Rights Watch and Post-Conviction Justice Project with USC. Heidi Romo, who's one of my heroes. If you don't know her, you need to Google her and read about her, and how we're working to bring both reforms and rehabilitation to those serving LWOP sentences. Today, we're joined by Heidi Romo, USC Post-Conviction Justice Project, Selena Chapman, ARC's Public Policy Associate, Abraham Presidio. If I butchered, I apologize, Abraham. Kaylu Washington, and Francisco Perez. Francisco will be joining us momentarily, as I hope will Elizabeth Calvin of Human Rights Watch. But for now, I'd like for each one of our amazing guests to please introduce yourself and tell us how you're doing today. So Heidi, can we start with you? Introduce yourself and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me on the show to talk about the Leadership Project. I'm a professor at USC Law School, where I supervise students working with people in post-conviction proceedings, primarily parole hearings. We've been involved in legislation and policy around life without the possibility of parole since 2008. And we have successfully really represented and had 22 clients who previously were sentenced to LWOP released through our program. Excited to be here today. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for joining us. Selena, please introduce yourself and tell us how you're doing today.
Hi, I'm Selena Chapin. I'm on the public policy and advocacy team at the Anti-Recidivism Coalition based in Los Angeles, work on state and federal work, and I'm thrilled to be here today.
Thank you, Selena. Kaylu, please introduce yourself and tell us how you're doing today.
Hi, everybody. How you doing? It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Kaylu Washington. I'm fantastic, actually. I formerly was incarcerated, sentenced to life without the possibility of parole at 18 years old. I served 32 years of incarceration. I've been home roughly about a year and 2 months. I'm off parole and thriving, and I feel great.
Thank you, Kaylu. Abraham, brother, please introduce yourself and tell us how you're doing today.
Hi, Sam. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great. I'm blessed. I also was incarcerated at the age of 18, was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole after serving 23 years and 6 months of incarceration. I am home. I'm just currently got discharged from parole last week. So that is a blessing. And I just got my own place. And I also am the LWOP project manager for Human Rights Watch, Children's Rights Division, where we focus on juvenile justice reform, and work for Elizabeth Calvin and my colleague William Hoffman. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. And let's get right into it. Kaylu, can you tell us what is a LWOP sentence?
Wow, that's a great question. A LWOP sentence means that you're not redeemable in the eyes of the law. It means that you're never coming home. What it truly means is you're going to die in prison.
Wow,
to just sum it up, to just put it very concisely, that's exactly what the sentence means.
Exactly. Literally sentenced to spend the rest of your life in prison. Think about that to my audience. Think about that just for a moment. Imagine how that feels. Heidi, can you tell us a little bit about our leadership, ALSP leadership? What is it and why did you decide to develop it along with Elizabeth Calvin?
I had the pleasure of starting to do policy work with Elizabeth Calvin around the LWOP sentence when I first started at USC in 2007-8, and it was a heavy lift. It took us many years just to get a very small law that affected a very few people and to slowly start bringing people home under that law. But what we quickly learned was that the people who knew the most, had the best strategies, were the best advocates, were the people who with lived experience. And it was a trickle in the beginning, but as people came home and were willing to give back by participating in everything, legislative meetings, development of policy, all of it, we gained a lot of steam. So I wouldn't say it's a floodgate now, but there's many more people coming home, even off an LWOP sentence. And we wanted to give them the opportunity to form a community. They're all leaders. They come out of, you don't survive that sentence and come home from prison if you're not a leader, but to really give them some formal training as a community, so that they could be leaders in the world, leaders on policy around LWOP and leaders in every other endeavor that they wanted to tackle, because we hold them up and show people that no one is irredeemable, and we use it to keep moving forward with new policy initiatives and hopefully eventually get rid of the sentence of life without parole in California once and for all.
Absolutely. We're going to make that a reality, because when we stop and think about it, the people that are coming home enhance public safety, literally lead by example after being released, and demonstrate that they add to what we have in our community. And without them, we're missing pieces of our communities. Abraham, why offer this particular program only to LWOPs?
Thank you, Sam. That's a good question. I personally know the feeling of having no hope, of knowing that you will have a slow death in prison and eventually be forgotten. To your question, prior to 2012, when Senate Bill 9 came in, people serving life without the possibility of parole had nothing coming, meaning that all the limited rehabilitative programs that were offered, LWOPs are not allowed to be a part of them. Why? Because the system saw it as, why waste money on someone who's condemned to die? Eventually, waste. Making the advanced leadership skills program specifically for people serving life without the possibility of parole gave us, while we were still inside, at that time I was in there, the much needed tools to be prepared, equipped, and have some form of experience to be a productive member of society once given that opportunity to come home. And these types of programs gave us those tools and give them, the guys in there that are still back inside, those tools.
Thank you, Abraham. Thank you. Selena, and I'm going to ask each of you this question. How does ALSP fit into the larger picture of LWOP reform?
Oh, yeah. Heidi already talked about this some, about how people who have served LWOP sentences already have so much leadership experience, and this training kind of hones those skills and gives them the tools that they need to grow into those leadership experiences. And we're hoping that equips them to be a leader in any field of their choosing, but also that it gives them the tools to lead the incredible reforms that so many are pushing for across the country, surrounding LWOP reform. There are a couple of bills going through the California legislature right now that specifically address LWOP. So we're in this incredible time when there is a lot of momentum around changing these laws. And so, yeah, we really hope that this training kind of equips people who have served LWOP sentences to really lead the charge for those reforms.
Kaylu, would you like to add anything? Thank you, Selena. And Kaylu, would you like to add anything to that? How does ALSP fit into the larger picture of LWOP reform?
Wow, it does a lot for a lot of us, because while we were incarcerated, a lot of us, we facilitated self-help programs. We took leadership roles as far as the MAC was concerned. So this enhances those skill sets to give us more tools, more communication skills to allow us to be advocates for those that can't advocate for themselves. So this program is huge for all of us.
Thank you, Kaylu. Abraham, same question to you. If you'd like to add anything to that, how does this fit into the bigger picture of LWOP reform?
Yeah, Caleb just hit it right there. I was took the words right out of my mouth. Incarcerated, we were the ones. The LWOPs were the ones, mostly in lifers, to step up. We were willing to step up, willing to be leaders within the prison to reform and to better ourselves while we were in there. The same concept is out here. Coming out here, we want to volunteer. We want to be able to help those that are inside. We want to be able to help those, let them know that they're not forgotten, because we were placed in we were in their shoes. So we were willing to step up and to be able to help society also, because it does help society.
Thank you, Abraham. And Heidi, would you like to add anything? How does this leadership training fit into the larger picture of LWOP reform?
I think the only thing I'd add, this is sort of a sideline to the points that everyone else has made, but it gives us the opportunity to tell the stories, the success stories, the amazing stories of people who survived the sentence and thrived and came home, to make, like you said, make our communities better places. And that changes the narrative for everyone. People aren't disposable. Everyone deserves a chance at redemption. And if you give them that chance, sometimes even if you don't, they can rise to a level that we might not have ever imagined. And telling the stories up close, up and personal to the public, to legislatures, to anyone who will listen, changes the narrative on the sentence.
Thank you, Heidi. Kaylu and Abraham, I have a specific question for you. Tell us about what was your experience with this advanced leadership training, and what was the most impactful part of the training for you? Abraham, and then you, Kaylu, please.
Okay. So as helping put together the Advanced Leadership Skills Program and being a part of it, to me, the most impactful one, I mean, they were all great. I mean, specifically the project management and time management one, because once we're released into society, we deal with how to, everything in there stops for us. Time stops in there for us. I mean, we're living, but it just stops. When we come out here, we got to learn how to manage time a little bit better. So that was very impactful for us, because now, you know, just we don't think about the little things of taking a bus or waiting for a bus or waiting in the grocery store. That's important. And also the project management, because being a project manager, those skills were so essential. It just is a complete change out here.
Essential, absolutely. Thank you, Abraham. Kaylu, for you, what was the most impactful part when you went through this leadership training?
I will echo exactly what Abraham said. Time management was huge. Like he said, while you're incarcerated, everything happens at a specific time, whether it's yard, whether it's education, whether it's school. So we were so programmed in that regard. So out here, it's like you have so many choices, so many opportunities. So it's important to manage your time wisely and have balance as well. So that's exactly what that training gave me and taught me to put me back on track. So it was huge.
Huge, thank you. It's interesting because when I came home, everybody told me I was too structured. Right? And so I tried to get away from it, and I was like, structure works for me. It helps me, it keeps me focused. When I'm at the beach, then I can lose sight of time and everything, but structure in terms of every day, what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish works for me, especially time management. So I get that part, absolutely. Here's a question for everyone. I'm beginning with you, Heidi. This program was in large part developed by and led by people who served life without the possibility of parole sentences. Why is that important?
Shouldn't you be asking someone who served life without parole why that's important?
Absolutely, but I want the perspective of, because you've been doing this for a while. Like I always talk about Sandra Lawrence, you know, I always talk about that, but to have had the impact, like we're literally seeing our system change in California and Los Angeles, like before our very eyes. Like literally, there are huge changes that are being made across the board. And you've worked closely with our population for quite a bit of time. And I'm going to ask both Abraham and
I know you are. I'm just. But it was a rhetorical question, because obviously the people who experienced the sentence, lived and survived the sentence, are in the very best position to know what they need, what will serve the people coming home under that sentence, to prioritize what needs to be done, and just to understand the process. So you know, ARC and Human Rights Watch and PCJP, we just sort of facilitated a program where people who had been sentenced to LWOP picked up the reins and took the lead and developed it and prioritized the trainings and organized the trainings and selected the participants and I mean they did everything.
Thank you, Heidi. Kaylu, why is it important for this program to be in large part developed by and led by people that served LWOP?
Well, I would like to say first, I want to acknowledge you, Sam, as well as Heidi, Selena, and Elizabeth. You guys gave us hope. Like I said, I've been back in society for the last year and 2 months. Before that, I watched from afar all the things that you guys was doing for the population itself, and it gave all of us hope. So I'm pretty sure I can speak for Abraham as well. We were determined to get out here and to give those hope, that same hope to those that were still incarcerated, letting them know just because you know we've had this success, this blessing, doesn't mean that we're gonna forget about you. So I think it's important to like Heidi said, to raise us up, to show our success and change is possible, that we are redeemable, and it gave those men, it's given those men that's still incarcerated hope.
Hope, absolutely. Abraham, same. Thank you, Kaylu. Thank you so much. Abraham, why is it important for and I go a little further, not just this program, but programs in general. Why is it important for people, for it to be developed by people that have served this type of time and led? Like, why is that important?
Thank you. I believe it's important because we, former LWOPs, formerly incarcerated people, could relate to every form of thought and everything that the people that are still behind bars, the people that are still incarcerated, what they're going through right now. We know the psych, what they're thinking, they're just everything that they're going through, and because of that, we know how to approach them. We're able to approach them in the same form of thinking, and like that saying goes, we could tell them, look, been there, done that. I was in your shoes. If we go to the same prison, I was sitting right there 2 years ago. So I know what you're thinking right now. And if they see us coming in with suits, like, look, I did over 23 years, so I know what you're thinking. I'm just somebody in a suit, but I'm not. I've been there, and I want to give back. And that, as Kaylu said, gives hope. It gives people hope, and it actually takes the facade, the mask that the guys have in there. It allows them to take off and become vulnerable and receptive to what's being taught now. Because in there, you got to walk around with a mask. And somebody approaches you in a suit, you still have that mask. Like, who's this dude? He doesn't know what I'm going through. But if somebody comes in, as ARC went in, and as Kaylu mentioned, gave us hopes, and we realized, man, these guys had life sentence. If they could do it, we could do it. So we're able to open up now and become vulnerable and be receptive to what's being taught to us. And I believe that's why that's important.
Thank you, Abraham. And for our audience, just to kind of give you a snapshot in the rearview mirror, for many years, many years, less than 1/10 of 1% of lifers were being released from prison, meaning like literally a lifer that would be released was the unicorn that you never saw. You heard the name, but you never saw the person, but you knew that person was released. And I remember years ago when I was incarcerated reading that life sentences in California were in fact de facto life without the possibility of parole sentences. And then you had the actual life without the possibility of parole sentences that both Kaylu and Abraham have come from under. And just to give an example of the work and the heart that they're giving back to our community is an example that people can change. Like redemption is possible if given the opportunity to people. And the last thing I'll say is to the last question, and I've heard this many times in the past few years or past 5 years. People that are closest to the problem or closest to the solution, but usually furthest from the resources to be able to implement those solutions. And so that's also part of the reason why, like, to live it, if you think about veterans in war, the solution being able to diagnose what was PTSD, which at one time they called shell shock. And you had these vets coming home and until they were heard, it was just something that a person went through. Want to ask this question. So I'd rather so Heidi and Selena, the this first group or first cohort was done inside Lancaster State Prison. So what prompted you to want to offer it inside prisons, and why did you choose Lancaster? So Selena and then Heidi, like, why Lancaster? And then, of course, you can announce where we're starting at next, where the next place is. For the audience that does not know, we're going to a different prison afterwards, or now scheduled, I think you said the 20th of this month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. So we've said this over and over again, that people serving LWOP are kind of the natural leaders inside prison. And they're so ready and hungry for programming that allows them to hone their skills. And we hear this from people who we know inside all of the time. But unfortunately, they are largely excluded from programming, which is a huge problem because it reinforces this idea that there is no future for people serving LWOP. And we know that's not true because we've seen so many people come home and just become incredible leaders. And we also have seen the incredible leadership of people inside, the incredible mentorship and community building work that they've done. So holding this training makes the message clear, both to people who are serving LWOP sentences and our communities at large, that people serving LWOP do have a future and they can make an impact regardless of what their sentence says, and that we're going to invest in them and we're going to invest in that future. So I think that was kind of the thinking behind shifting it to inside prison. And Lancaster has a large group of people serving LWOP sentences who are doing great, and we are so excited to watch them grow into these leadership skills. And so, yeah, I think that was a huge reason for expanding to Lancaster. We also have a great relationship with the prison, and we knew that they would be really excited to kind of jumpstart this program and have the first iteration inside. And like you said, we are now expanding to Pelican Bay this month, which is super exciting. There's also a really large community of people serving LWOP there who are just doing incredible work and who are so hungry for training and programming and things like this. We have our Hope and Redemption team out there, so we already have great connections to the people inside and to the prison there. And same thing, we are just so excited to see what they do with the training and how what they do with their leadership skills.
Thank you, Selena. Heidi, what prompted you and Elizabeth and everyone to decide, one, to offer the training, period, and two, why Lancaster Prison? If you want to add to what Selena shared.
I mean, Selena said it so well, but we always planned to take it inside. We knew we needed people inside. We wanted people inside to be partnering with us and people outside who had served the sentence. COVID slowed us down, and our team worked and revamped to move the outside training to a remote platform. But we were also, I believe, the first people to offer an inside virtual program to people inside. When we originally contemplated this, we were going in and doing the workshops, and Lancaster was close and has a lot of LWOPs doing well and would facilitate it, but they continued to be willing to facilitate it when it was on a virtual platform. And the virtual platform is exciting because it makes it much more feasible to go to places like Pelican Bay, which can be very short on programs because of the difficulty to travel there and to access the prison. So we know we need the people inside just as much as we need the people outside helping us.
So I have another question. I'm gonna get this one to Abraham and Heidi. So the 20th, we're scheduled to present this training to another group. What prison is that gonna be?
That's the one that's going to Pelican Bay, which I don't know. What can you say about Pelican Bay? I think the name speaks for itself in a lot of it just speaks for itself. But it's exciting. It's exciting to be able to go up there and bring something like this and all the speakers. I mean, our program, no one's really talked about what the program looks like, but we have a heavy VIP hitter list of people presenting really incredible trainings. And virtual is not the same as in person, but one of the advantages it gives us is being able to get up there and being able to bring people who are super powerful, super well accomplished in their fields, and wouldn't otherwise, people in Pelican Bay or maybe Lancaster wouldn't have the opportunity to hear from them. So it's exciting, new and different, making the best of the COVID situation.
And I have to ask the question again, why Pelican Bay?
Because it's the most hopeless place of all the places.
In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. So for our audience, Pelican Bay is the only true super maximum prison in the state of California. We have maximum security prisons, but Pelican Bay is the only true super max built by design in California. So I want to share that and let you know that we're not stopping. And I'm certain that if you Google Pelican Bay, you'll see a lot of stuff, but keep looking and you'll see college graduations in a shift in what's going on in Pelican Bay. Kayla, you want to add something?
I think it's very important to bring this program to Pelican Bay. I was in Pelican Bay at 3 different times, actually. I spent almost 25 years in the level 4, and the program is limited in most level 4s, especially Pelican Bay, like you said. So a lot of those individuals, those gentlemen, are taking correspondent courses to get some form of self-help, some type of program. Like Sam alluded to earlier, they now have a college programs. So they're hungry for change, to learn, to grow. It's just having the opportunity. And I think that's what this program gives them, as an opportunity.
Thank you, Caleb. Abraham, what were some of the challenges that the team faced offering this program inside the prison?
The challenges, of course, first of all, was the technology, because we have. I mean, the technology that's in there is so outdated. So technology was the first challenge, in being able to get the technology in there, to get it approved, and to set everything up. That was a major challenge. And then the programming is to offer it just specifically to LWOPs was something that I've never heard of. So to get everybody in place, and as Kaylu mentioned, everybody that was in there that sentenced to life without the possibility of parole was so hungry. So one challenge was also to, like, okay, who are we going to get? There are so many great leaders in there. There are so many people serving life without the possibility of parole, and who to choose, who to get, and others were already involved in college classes or other self-helps that were just starting, and they're like, we want to join this one because this is advanced leadership skills program training by ARC, by HRW, by BCJP. We want to get this training. We want to be prepared. So those were hard challenges, to try to pick somebody in technology and just get everything, all the ducks in a row.
And could you also explain, because this was literally during COVID time, two questions I have for you. Could you explain how we did this, but also who was our keynote speaker at the graduation?
Oh, absolutely. So the keynote speaker, I'll start with that one, was Senator Durazo. We had Senator Durazo come in there, and we were able through COVID, as you mentioned earlier, get Lancaster approved visit, and we were able to go inside there with former LWOPs, people serving that were sentenced to LWOP, that had done time in Lancaster, go inside the prison and hold a graduation ceremony for those that had completed the course. That was amazing right there. The guys in there were in tears. They were so joyful and grateful because it showed they weren't forgotten. They show it's just, yeah, it was amazing. I'm speechless on. But
Thank you, Abraham. So the pictures that you're seeing, Senator DeRosa was so impressed with the people that had gone through this training that she wanted to come meet them in person. And so this is a visit afterwards with everyone, where Senator DeRosa asked hard questions of the individuals that completed this training, and literally had an opportunity to meet with them. In the first photo, you would have saw Kelly Savage, who was a woman that was sentenced to life without. So we have not forgotten our sisters that are in the institutions that were sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and we will be working to bring that to them also. But these are pictures that you're seeing literally off of Lancaster Yard with Senator DeRosa visiting the people that are in Lancaster and talking to them, including the correctional staff. This is what it means to make change in our facilities. And so there's Kelly right there where it says in life without the possibility of parole. You have Alan Burnett, who was also sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, and several others in this entire group that went through the training, leadership training. This is what you talk about, transforming a system that was once hopeless into one that has hope, and actually creating pathways for people to come home. I want to share one other thing. I had a discussion with a close friend of mine that I grew up with, and we both study history. And so we were talking about one of my heroes, Harriet Tubman. And we were comparing what Harriet Tubman did to criminal justice reform. And my friend said, you know, what you all are doing in this field is what Harriet Tubman did. I'm like, how does that compare? He said, you all are going inside these institutions and literally working with people and leading them home. What did Harriet Tubman do? And I was kind of like speechless for a minute. I was like, wow, that's a great comparison. Although I would never try to compare myself with Harriet Tubman because she's one of my heroes. And she went in, I think it was a lot more dangerous for her. But in a sense, if you think about leading people to freedom, this is part of what this group of people in these organizations have been doing for some time. And just want to again, like, give a huge shout out to everyone that has done this work and been doing this work to help people come home, create hope, and help our communities heal. Selena, yes, ma'am.
I was just going to interrupt you, Sam. No, I just wanted to mention that one thing that was really special about having Senator DeRosa at this graduation is last year she carried an LWOP bill for us, for ARC, and on all of us. We didn't manage to lift it up high enough yet, but she's very committed and understands the importance of legislating against that sentence. So it was especially meaningful to have her there talking to the people who her bill will hopefully impact one day.
Absolutely, and we will continue to push for that with this army of advocates and supporters here, both in the community and inside our institutions. Selena and Abraham, Selena first, how did the participants respond to the training?
Great. Of course. They did amazing. They were so enthusiastic about it. They even like formed study groups kind of on their own time. That was not, that was not something that was like required or asked of them at all. They just kind of did it because they were enthusiastic about kind of helping each other and lifting each other up and learning more on their own time. And we were also surprised. I mean, we did it virtually out of necessity, but we heard that the participants really loved doing it virtually because it allowed them to interact with technology in a new way. And technology is such a huge part of, our lives on the outside, especially now during COVID. And so for them to be able to work with technology was really exciting. So yeah, it was great. Abraham, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. The participants' response to me when I seen it was so welcoming. They were so grateful, excited, and appreciative that the people out here, us, that we didn't forget them. Because many of us, while we were in there, we mentioned you're gonna see us again. We're so hungry to give back. So that was the first thing we wanted to get involved and be able to give hope to them. So when they were able to see this, when the people in there saw former LWOPs facilitating the class, when they saw panelists that were their cellmates being on that screen, it gave them hope. Some things that we had lost at one time. It was tears of joy on both sides of the screen. Some people, they were just so emotional. It's just like they were like, man, you didn't forget us. You really did come back. And to know someone that takes time to create a program specifically for you, I mean, the guys in there felt love, and they felt that they were not forgotten, that we weren't just a waste anymore, that they were actually cared for.
Thank you, Abraham. I think that's the greatest thing that we can do is going back inside and making sure that everyone knows that we have not forgotten about them. So I want to share something that just literally just popped up in my email, and it says, I had the honor of watching the presentation. Literally, they're watching right now, and they emailed us. And it says, I'm watching Life Leaders during my lunch break, and I will resume work after. My dad is in Lancaster and is a former LWOP, commuted, and now has the possibility for parole. How can he become more involved in this in ARC? And it goes on just to say that they see the value in this and that they want to be involved in it. So, Val, I will make sure that ARC actually runs open redemption programming inside Lancaster Prison. And I will make sure that I share this with our life coach that goes into Lancaster and make sure that your father's enrolled in our next cohort group that will be going through this program. And just want to share with the rest of the audience, it takes all of us to make this happen. This is just a small number of representatives that are doing this, but we need you also to vote. Make sure that you know what's up on the legislature, to call your legislators when we're in a legislative cycle for bills like what Heidi shared with you, which was Senate Bill 481. We need to make sure that we support our champions that are in the state legislature. And as we look to change things federally, also in Congress and the Senate. In order for us to be able to make our system more just and more fair, we have to make sure that those that we voted in that represent us vote in a way that best represents us. Heidi, I have a question for you. And then I'd like for you to answer also, Kayla. Are there any plans for this leadership inside other California institutions after Pelican Bay?
That's definitely our hope. We don't have specific prisons scheduled at this time, but yes, that's we're scaling up.
Kayla, what would you like? Thank you, Heidi. And where would you like to see this go?
I would actually like to see it touch every prison if it's possible. Like I said, I was incarcerated for 32 years, and I was up and down the state of California. And for years, I corresponded with Sam. I watched from afar a lot of things that he was doing personally, and it gave me so much hope, honestly. So it doesn't just take an individual that was previously sentenced to life without. It takes all of you guys. And like I said before, we watched from afar all the work that you guys have been doing for years, and it gave me hope. And for years, I'm pretty sure Abraham can contest to this, that a lot of people gave their word that they were going to step up, help us out, or whatever the case may be, and it fell by the wayside. So we didn't want to be those individuals that made these promises and didn't go back to give back. So that's why we're here. We want to make sure we keep our word, and we want to be active in this change, in this fight.
Thank you, Kayla. A couple of questions in the chat box. Just want to say, want to answer Judith McAllister. Do you have a program in RJD? Yes, ma'am, we do. We have a program there. The Hope Redemption team is there now. Ask your loved one to send a Form 22 to their community resource manager to get on the waiting list. We move pretty quickly through our waiting list. Also, there's a second one. Can you tell me what programs you're taking into Pelican Bay so that I can communicate that to my son? Hope and Redemption is also there, and Pelican Bay is the next prison, which is starting on the 20th for this LWOP training. And so there are programs there. Oftentimes, the best way to get in those programs is to send a Form 22 to your community resource manager. And so, if you have other questions too, at the end of the show, we will put up addresses for you to write to different organizations, including Human Rights Watch, USC, and ARC, so that you can get more information. And we will make sure that we're able to plug your loved ones into that information so that they can begin that journey home. Heidi and Selena. So Heidi, you first, and then Selena. Can other community-based organizations get involved or help with ALSP, Advanced Leadership Training for LWOPs?
We do partner with other organizations to bring the trainings. I don't have the list right here off the top of my head. Maybe Selena's more familiar with the list, but yes, we are partnering with various organizations depending on the leadership training that we select and that the people running the program select is most appropriate for the program.
I don't have that list on hand. Maybe Abraham has it. But yeah, I mean, if you have leadership skills, resources, things like that, of course, we would love to talk with you more about that. And also, I wanted to say, if you know anyone who was serving LWOP or is coming home or has come home, we have this incredible group of people who served LWOP and are now out. And so we would love to be connected to them so that we can connect them to, this incredible community of people who have come home.
Absolutely. Thank you, Heidi, and thank you, Selena. I think I want to echo that the community that we've built for people that are formerly incarcerated, and this community grows. And what I mean by that is, when you come home from a long term of incarceration, you feel like sometimes you don't fit in. And until you get used to being home, you need that community that you can lean on that has been through the same experience that you've been through. And so you don't limit yourself. You literally allow yourself to say, okay, this might be where I start at. But once I'm comfortable, I begin to expand out and my community becomes everyone that's around me. But initially, the first steps into society after long-term inside, you feel like you don't fit in. And I say that both from personal experience and from talking to hundreds of people that have come home after doing long sentences. Jose Gonzalez is one of them. I hope Jose is watching. I remember Jose saying the first day that he came home, he said, everybody on the bus was staring at me. I was like, they weren't even thinking about you, Jose. And then a month later, he comes in the office and I was like, are the people on the bus still staring at you? He's like, nah, that was just me. But it was how he felt at the time. And so that's the best way to describe how important this community that we have for us to support each other and to push each other and to pull each other to the next level is really important to tap into. So if you have family members as they come home, please have them reach out so we can actually make that connection. So I want to give each one, starting with Abraham, then Kaylu and Selena and Heidi, an opportunity just to share thoughts that you want the audience to think about as we're about to move to the next phase. Abraham, and then Kaylu.
To think about, just reach out to these organizations that are moving the hearts and minds of people. Reach out to them and see what you can do. Be a part of it. There is people out there that are willing to help. There is a lot of us that are willing to step up and just be a part of it. And to the public out there, don't just think about those could be your that could be your daddy, your uncle, your son, and just humanize. Just have that humanizing heart. That there's those incarcerated are not scum. They're people. They're people that made an error in judgment and they just want to give back to the society. They want to give back to the community and show, as Kaylu and myself and Sam, that we are redeemable, that we do change, and not only just change for selfish purposes or reasons, but we want to better the community as well and help those that are the youth out here to try to change the spectrum of society in general for the betterment.
Thank you, Abraham. Kaylu.
I think it's important for the audience to know that we fallible, we human beings, and we made mistakes at young ages. But every human being is capable of changing, of growing, of learning, and I think it's important to look at it from a humanistic standpoint, as opposed to demonizing or dehumanizing other human beings. And I pray that we serve as an example that change is possible, that everybody can grow and learn, just given the opportunity. So that's one of the things I really want the audience to take in.
Thank you, Kaylu. Selena, thoughts for our audience to think about?
Yeah, I think just to uplift the voices of people serving LWOP in whatever space or field that you might be in. I think that these voices and these stories are so important, as you've heard. One way to like keep in touch with that is to follow these organizations on social media, uplift the stories when you see them. And if you are looking for some leaders in whatever field you have, we know some really incredible leaders who've gone through this leadership training and who we're really proud of.
Thank you, Selena. Heidi, thoughts for our audience?
Thanks, Sam. I guess I'm here with I'm here with mixed feelings today. Mixed feelings. We do these chats and these presentations, and we celebrate so much achievement. I don't think you or I could have imagined sitting here 10 years ago on this kind of a call with these kinds of programs and this many people home and this many changes in law. And we should be celebrating, and it is amazing. And there are tireless advocates and people and voices and stories being shared that were never shared before. But I'm sure there are people on the call, many people on the call, and many people still inside who haven't found that hope, or the law hasn't changed for them, or they're still facing. They're not where we all are, or where the people who are able to participate in our leadership conference are. And I guess I would just say, we know you're not forgotten, and we know there's still a lot of work to be done. We celebrate our accomplishments because they're amazing, but we're still working hard to get where we need to go. And we all recognize that there's still a lot more work to do, and a lot more people who need to find the hope. But I appreciate you, Sam. I appreciate ARC, appreciate Human Rights Watch, appreciate all the people who took the chance on our leadership program and are showing up and making a difference in the world.
Thank you, Heidi. And I want to echo that. I want to really shout out Heidi, USC Post Conviction Justice Project, Elizabeth, who was not able to join us today, Senior Advocate for Human Rights Watch and the work that Human Rights Watch has been doing, all of our people, our families, our leaders, men, women, trans that are in this movement to push and make our system more humane. I agree with you. There's still a lot of work to do. And for those of you that are listening and have family members that have not had a second chance, trust me, we're not going to stop until our system is equitable. Not partly, not some, but till it's truly equitable. And for me, as I think about different things that I do, there's a song that I just became aware of called Thank You, Lord, from Jay Smooth. Go on YouTube and check it out. And it's literally what I wake up to in the morning. And it talks about whether you're inside or out, there are things for us to be thankful for, and to know that we're going to continue to push forward. I want you to all know that I appreciate the work that you've done, the heart that you're putting into it. Abraham and Kaylu going back inside and continuing to push the work and letting people know that we have not forgotten about them, and that we're going to continue this until our system is equitable and more humane. And then Norway will have to come here and say, we want to copy you. So just know that. With that said, we're going to close out our show. I want to, again, thank you all for joining. Thank you for the work that you do and the heart that you put into it. And until next time, take care. God bless. And we'll see you then.